Alfa Romeo has brought out a new facelift version of the Guilietta. It's closely aligned to the styling of the flagship Giulia, with a more sporty look, especially at the front. Emanuel Schaefer says the car he's testing is powered by a 1.6-liter turbo diesel engine with 88 kilowatts, or 120 horsepower. It's combined with the Alfa twin-clutch transmission, so it's an automatic. But you also have shift paddles on the steering wheel, so if you want an even sportier ride, you can shift the gears manually. We tested the new engine, which is available for the first time in the Guilietta. All in all, there are 5 gasoline and 3 diesel versions. These range in power from 77 to 177 kilowatts. The darker headlights surrounds help underline the overall sportier look, along with the rear door handles, which are set into the window frames. The cockpit has an uncluttered and sporty look. Air conditioning is included even in the basic version. The newly upgraded infotainment system is largely controlled by touchscreen, but it does have a few knobs for key functions too. There are also buttons on the steering wheel for the onboard entertainment system and Bluetooth. But Emanuel says even though the cabin looks great, there are very few storage options. There's a pocket in the left-hand door. You could just about get a very small bottle in there, otherwise only small objects. And here you could get a coffee cup in, but not a proper bottle either. Otherwise, everything down there is taken up with USB and SD card connections, and the drive mode switch. There'd be space in the back, but it's just covered with plastic. What a shame. The Alfa Giulietta diesel can reach 100 kilometers in 10.2 seconds and has a top speed of 195 kilometers per hour. Alfa says average fuel consumption is 3.9 liters per 100 kilometers. Emanuel says the Guilietta has 3 drive modes known as DNA, dynamic, natural, and all-weather. Dynamic is the sporty option, of course. Natural is for fuel-efficient everyday use, and all-weather is for poor driving conditions. So how does it feel? Emanuel has just selected the dynamic drive mode and immediately notices the difference. The gas pedal responds a lot faster. The steering is heavier, so you get better feedback from the road, and when you accelerate, the gears shift later. The braking system also changes depending on the drive mode. In natural mode, everything is more sedate. The gas is very smooth. The gears change at the earliest possible moment. That makes the Guilietta pretty quiet, especially considering it's a diesel. So it's pleasant to drive, and the steering is quite a bit softer, thanks to the electric power steering. Emanuel can hardly tell the difference between natural and all-weather mode. That's because the gas response and steering are identical in both modes. The only difference is the addition of ESC and ASR stability and traction control systems, which support the driver on low traction surfaces. Not that you can drive off-road, of course.
Das heißt natürlich nicht, dass man damit ins Gelände fahren kann.
The Guilietta is certainly not designed for that. It feels most at home on country roads with plenty of bends. All in all, Emanuel is impressed with the Guilietta. The cool exterior design, the smart interior, the engine, in combination with the automatic transmission, which works really well. There's just one thing he finds strange. The onboard computer shows the average fuel consumption in kilometers per liter. Does that mean drivers have to work out for themselves how many liters it uses per 100 kilometers, which is standard on all other European cars?
Alle anderen Hersteller haben das doch auch. Wieso der nicht?
Prices for the Guilietta start at 21,400 euros in Germany. Our testers Michel and Andre can't decide who will conduct today's test drive, so they play rock, paper, scissors to choose.
Gewonnen.
Mist.
No wonder they both wanted to drive. This Porsche Panamera Turbo S Executive generates a whopping 419 kilowatts of power. The car not only sounds impressive, it looks impressive too. Designed as a chauffeur-driven model for the Asian market, this extended version boasts even more luxury and comfort than standard Panameras. Michel asks where they should go. Andre's hungry, so he suggests they head for a Chinese restaurant he knows. It's far away, but they can test drive the car en route and then pick up some noodles. Going on long road trips isn't a problem in the Porsche Panamera Turbo S Executive. Not only is it comfortable to ride in, its powerful motor makes the journey go quicker. Those who like to listen to some engine noise on the way can pump up the volume at the push of a button. Michel asks if Andre knows he's sitting in the Turbo S Executive's best seat, the back right one. Andre says that's interesting, but right now he's more interested in sitting in the driver's seat. So Michel offers to change places. Still, Andre had it pretty good in the back seat. Here, passengers can watch films or play music using the displays mounted on the front seat headrests. And there's plenty of room to stretch out and relax. The whole interior oozes luxury, boasting plenty of leather as well as chrome and wood accents. Outside, the sedan's rear end is rather simple. Only the dual twin-tube tailpipes and the large Porsche lettering hint at the power of the Panamera Turbo S. And the extended executive version has a 15-centimeter longer wheelbase compared to the regular Turbo S. In spite of its length, this Porsche can accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 3.9 seconds. Maximum torque is 750 Newton meters. This super luxury car comes fully loaded with all kinds of safety systems and driver assists. Porsche's dynamic chassis control, an active anti-roll system that reduces lateral body movement when cornering, and active suspension management come as standard, making for a silky smooth ride. So Michel wonders why she hasn't seen any Panamera Turbo S executives on German roads. Andre explains that this extended version was conceived as a chauffeur-driven model for the Asian market. He thinks Germans and most other Europeans who have a Porsche prefer to drive it themselves. Now it's time for them to stop and eat. Michel asks whether a chauffeur-driven sedan really needs to be so sporty. Andre says honestly, no. It's completely superfluous. He thinks people who want to be driven around are looking for a comfy ride, not to be thrown from side to side. This Porsche is purely about prestige.
Guten Appetit.
Fiat is expanding its new Tipo range. Following the launch of the four-door sedan last year, the car maker has now brought out a hatchback version. With an overall length of 4.37 meters, it's in the same class as the VW Golf. It comes with a choice of diesel or gasoline engines, boasting 70 to 88 kilowatts of power. There's also an eco version, which officially emits just 89 grams of CO2 per kilometer. Prices for the Tipo start at just under 15,000 euros in Germany. Audi is hoping to challenge the Mercedes GLA and the BMW X1 with its new Q2. The small-scale SUV comes with progressive steering in all versions, which makes for dynamic handling. The Drive Select system offers a range of modes. Curb weight is just 1,250 kilos, which should mean extra agility. The trunk provides between 405 and 1,050 liters of cargo space. The first Q2s will be on the road by the end of the year, with prices starting at 23,000 euros. The Toyota Mirai is the company's first mass-produced car that's powered by fuel cells. The Mirai has been on sale in Germany since November 2015. Our tester Mattes Kurat points out that fuel cells take hydrogen gas that's stored on board, mix it with oxygen, and convert it into electricity. That electricity powers the vehicle's electric motor. Let's check under the hood to see what the motor looks like. The supplies of hydrogen and oxygen are separated by a membrane. The hydrogen molecules try to combine with the oxygen molecules. But only the proton is allowed through the membrane, and it sheds its electron. The electron has to go somewhere else. When lots of electrons are moving together, it creates a current. That current can be used, for example, to power an electric motor. You can see here how that works. Mattes says that when you climb into a Mirai, it's like you're sitting in a car of the future. That's due in part to the touch-sensitive control panels on the dashboard, but also because of the high-tech fuel cells. Still, it's like going back to the early days of driving, when there weren't any gas stations. Motorists had to buy petrol at the local pharmacy. That's what it's like today with liquid hydrogen. There are more than 14,000 filling stations across Germany for gasoline, diesel, and natural gas, but only a few sell hydrogen. In fact, there are less than 20. By the end of the year, the number is expected to rise to 60 because of pressure from the federal government. Today, Mattes got lucky. He can stop at this filling station near Cologne, which supplies the regional bus system. Mattes says that filling up your car with liquid hydrogen is pretty much like filling it up with natural gas. Put the nozzle in the tank and use the security latch to lock it in.
Der wird ganz einfach hier am Auto auf den Zapfpunkt draufgesetzt, verriegelt und dann drückt man den grünen Knopf.
Then push the green button over here and you're good to go. It takes about 4 minutes to fill up. Toyota says you'll get about 500 kilometers on a full tank, and there's no air pollution, just water vapor. Mattes says that the Mirai has really good acceleration. You step on the gas, and suddenly you've got maximum torque. It's a fun car to drive. The electric motor's output is 114 kilowatts, and you can go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 9.6 seconds. The Mirai has a maximum speed of 178 kilometers per hour, but it's an expensive car, retailing at 78,600 euros in Germany. Mata says you shouldn't go driving around and revving up the motor just because you've got an environmentally friendly car, as that reduces the range. And there just aren't that many places to fill up right now. So you should try to save as much fuel as you can.
Dass man sehr energieeffizient fährt.
Mata says the Toyota Mirai is a step in the right direction when it comes to alternative motors. The fuel cell concept is superior to that of battery-powered electric vehicles. The biggest drawback for these cars is the lack of refueling stations. That's one of two reasons why he wouldn't buy one. The other is the high price.
Des Autos, warum ich mir derzeit keinen Toyota Mirai kaufen würde.
The name Mirai, translated from the original Japanese, means future. With this car, Toyota is taking a step forward in the use of fuel cell technology. The Mirai shows that the combination of liquid hydrogen and fuel cells will work. We just need some more filling stations. Some cars maintain a classic design and style through the years. That's certainly the case with the Jeep Wrangler, which made its debut way back in 1986. At the time, the Wrangler was made by American Motors. Now it's built by Fiat-Chrysler. Our auto tester Reinhold Deisenhofer says that the Wrangler looks like one of those indestructible U.S. Army Jeeps from World War II. The Wrangler is pretty tough, too, and it's one of the last true off-road vehicles on the market. The Wrangler Rubicon model is available with either a diesel or a standard gasoline engine. Neither is particularly environmentally friendly. The one we're testing has a CO2 output of 237 grams per kilometer. Our Wrangler costs 44,000 euros, which is quite a bit to pay for a car that's not exactly on the cutting edge of design and technology. The best part about the Wrangler is that you can take it out and get it dirty. It wasn't built for cruising around cities. And if you get into trouble somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, the Wrangler comes equipped with a spare wheel. On the inside, you still have the trademark grab handle on the glove compartment, introduced in 1941. Here's the transfer case off-road gear reduction, and of course, the sway bar and axle lock switches, enabling the vehicle to do more than most drivers. In countries like Germany, there aren't too many places where you can really push the Wrangler to its limits. Over in the U.S., fans revel in crossing their own personal Rubicon in their Rubicon. No wonder with a ground clearance of some 26 centimeters. This is where the old-school engineering rolls back the years. It's hard to think of a contemporary SUV with the talents to master surfaces this tricky. Embankments, twisted terrain, and streams are no problem for the Rubicon. It can plow through rivers up to 77 centimeters deep. That's because the engine intake is so far up that it's protected from sucking in water. Although the handling and chassis leave no doubt as to whether this baby prefers cross-country to the Autobahn. The high center of gravity, coupled with the leaf spring suspension and the huge tires, hardly bodes well for the Rubicon's corner handling. The Wrangler is an automotive dinosaur that isn't remotely interested in modern trends. At the end of the day, it does what it was built to do, to get the driver to their destination, however challenging the route there. People sometimes mistake the Intermeccanica Italia Spyder for an old Corvette or a classic Ferrari. And they're not even that far off, because this roadster combines Italian design with American heavy metal. The Intermeccanica Italia was built between 1968 and 1970 as a coupe and convertible. It put Italian bodywork over an all-American drivetrain. The Intermeccanica Italia Spyder combines the best of two worlds for a classic car. It has Italian styling designed by Franco Scaglione, plus the power of 8 hearts or 8 cylinders, in this case a V8 from Ford. The Italia was built in Turin. The car maker was Intermeccanica, established in the 1950s by Frank Reisner, a Canadian with Hungarian roots. The cars he built almost always had American engineering under the hood, typically from Ford or General Motors. Frank Reisner, the boss of Intermeccanica, was a real automotive jack of all trades. He had an incredible number of ideas and realized a great many of them. He was the first to build a replica of Porsche's legendary 356 Speedster. Reisner died in 2001 after a lifetime building very limited editions of unique automobiles. The Italia is a prime example. Only about 500 units were built. The car's design combines elements of the Corvette and Ferrari. It was sketched by Franco Scaglione, who also designed a number of Ferraris, elegant contours, and the unmistakable proportions of a roadster. A long hood, a low sloping windshield, and a compact muscular rear. And the sound coming out of the ANSA dual pipes is enough to make your hair stand on end. Most Italias were delivered with a 3-speed automatic. Our model is equipped with a 4-speed manual. A German car magazine in 1970 proved that in 4th gear, the Italia could be driven at almost any speed, between 22 kilometers an hour and 220. The testers tried it out.
Die Zeitung hat es damals ausprobiert.
The 5.7-liter Ford V8 has about 300 horsepower, harnessed to a car that weighs just 1,200 kilos. In the cockpit, you quickly notice the little imperfections that are common with cars made in very small editions. A small price to pay for the fun of driving this macho beast. A well-preserved Italia Spyder costs about 50,000 euros. We're rolling out of town now at about 50 kilometers an hour and in 3rd gear. When I punch the gas, he says, it just pulls away with that typical V8 power.
Das ist halt typische V8-Power.
Another advantage of the American V8 is that it's totally dependable, and parts are cheap and easy to find. But is it good enough to make the Italia Spyder a real sports car? Or is it more of a street cruiser, like a Ford Mustang? How does the Italia Spyder drive? Not bad for a limited edition car. The chassis isn't very stiff, and that's something you do notice. The engine is really something, though. You just want to give it gas and hear and feel the engine. Once you get used to that, it's a joy to drive.